Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, we have a very special guest today. On the fourth round, we have a former King of the Dot champion, a 2006 and 7 World Rap Championship winner. We have the youngest Scribble Jam winner. Uh, all that. A legend in the game, Illmac. What's up, Illmac?
Yeah. I should have pulled up an air horn for that intro.
Exactly, man. How you doing, though, Mac?
I'm good, man. My coffee consumption before a battle goes up. I already drink way too much, so before this one is definitely a 2 liter a day of cold brew. You know what I mean?
You're a cold brew guy.
Yeah, I mean I go back and forth. But lately, it got really hot here. I live in LA, and it got really hot here, like, a couple months ago, and it had to switch over to cold brew, and I'm just on it.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I'm a big cold brew guy.
Yeah, I don't add nothing to it, man. I'm a man.
Yeah, just straight.
Ice, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get straight to it. We're going to start with the questions. We have Ty and Cal here, by the way. I'm just going to start it off, man. Let's go to the beginning. You competed at 17, I think, at Scribble Jam. At least that's what Wikipedia says. By the way, I think you're the second guy on our show with a Wikipedia page, so that's a cool stat. So what was it like coming up in Portland? Like, what was the hip hop scene like at the time? What were you doing on like a weekend or like a day to day, I guess?
I was I did my first battle in Portland in 2001, which is funny because I've been seeing the clips pop up like going, baby viral of like 15-year-old or 14-year-old, Illmac, and I look like I'm 10, like wearing a blue Hawaiian Sophie button up with a haircut actually pretty similar to this, battling, and that was like the first event I ever did, and it kind of the long story short about that event being formative in Portland was I got a flyer handed to me from a homie because I was into like watching battles, and also I was into underground and like punchline type rap. And he's like, you should enter this. You're a smart ass. Like, I think this will be funny. I was like, I don't freestyle. And he's like, it's for $1,000. Learn. And so I started freestyling and all that. And basically I went and I won. But to be honest, like there's probably like 2 battles that I probably should have lost. But it was that thing of like, the 8-year-old is good. Like he raps though. Like it was totally biased. You know what I mean? I'm going against all grown men and shit. And so it was just the way it looked. I think I got that underdog effect. But because of that, after I won, there was like the forums. It was an event. It was like a series of big events called Hip Hop Tonight, where it's like all 4 elements, breakdance and DJing, graffiti competitions. But on the forums, everyone's like, oh, you won because of like crowd bias and whatever else. But low key, if I would have won that battle and there wasn't that pushback, I don't know if I'd be where I am, because it was like that actually is what activated me to like take the shit serious. Because I'm like, I might have, when looking at it, I was like, yeah, I could have lost that. Well, I'll never lose again. And like started my Rocky montage of, training. And back then though, there was actually a good amount of battle rap happening in the underground scene. There was like car show battles. I remember taking one of those down. There would just be a lot of like, local nights and actually pretty big purses for battles. So I was able to stay active until, watching battles before YouTube, watching battles on MC battles on rapmusic.com, rest in peace, like PH battles and Mini Styles versus Jin and Idea and No
Idea.
versus Franco in the gymnasium and Awkwards at Rocksteady. Like I studied all that and was like, I want to take that next step. And then from there, I started traveling to Cali and everything. And that's what kind of gave me footage that ultimately got me into Scribble. But I had to kind of like do the route of conquering more or less my local area and then kind of expanding down into Cali. But it was a lot of shit. There was a lot of events and the scene was actually popping during that time. So that environment let me sharpen the sword.
Dope. Were you making music at the time too? Like, cause you're pretty active with your music as a
yeah. I had in the beginning of my career, I kind of had the reverse trajectory. I think that most people have. Like the story I hear most is people freestyling at parties and then like, having fun and then getting into like, maybe I'll actually rap. But I was kind of the opposite where even before rap, like I was a huge hip hop fan from a super young age, but wanted to be like a writer. Like that was what I wanted to be. Cool. And, even before my NBA dreams, so I'll be in the NBA right now if it wasn't for battle rap, low key. Kind of a blessing and a curse. But I wanted to be a writer, and ultimately, like, rap was an easy transition. The homie Deshante, who was rapping, is like my best friend at the time, was really like, "You need to do this." And I'm like, "Nah," but then I just started writing rhymes, and it became addictive, and then met other homies, started recording in a backyard shed studio, and I fell in love with making the music. And I never freestyled. Like I started writing raps at 11, was recording by like 12, 13, like in these little Lyrical Militia was a rap group I was in. Young Thugs before that. I was a gangster rapper until I was like 14 or 15. But that I fell in love with making music and was actually actively recording for a few years before I even tried freestyling, which I think kind of gives me a bit of an advantage in that way. Like, cause I was actually trying to be a rapper before the battle shit and freestyle shit even came into mind,
Dope.
Illmac, you unfairly get lumped in as a white MC a lot of times, right? Even though I've heard you clarify this publicly, man. For all the new fans or ignorant fans, or all the college students studying race theory, could you clarify your ethnicity for everybody?
Yeah. My dad is white and my mom is brown. She's half Native and half Mexican. So I am half white devil. But I also I don't. It's not a thing I get offended by necessarily, because I also understand the social dynamics and being white passing and that's like again a part of my like being raised by my dad. I mean, and my mom, but like I was enveloped in that culture too. So
yeah,
I don't get like too up in arms about it because I understand. But yeah, I'm half I'm a quarter Native and a quarter Mexican and half white.
Okay. In your battle versus Big K, and then your third round versus Verb, man, you had a lot of material where you kind of were embracing being a nerd. You know what I'm saying? My question for you,
Verb Brown.
Really?
Yeah, I hate that looking back.
Why?
There's pieces of it I like, but put it this way: if I were to battle me now, like that would be a piece that I would break down of like the. It worked for that battle in the moment because it spoke to a narrative that I was anticipating him leaning into or creating, which is like a us versus them, cool table versus the nerds dynamic that I wanted to address because I felt it coming. And we talked after because he didn't really get much of a third round out, and whether it's true or not, he in the moment was like, "Yeah, that fucked me up." Like that's why I couldn't rap my third because it kind of was all on that, and that could be, that could be a lie because just wasn't prepared, but that was what he told me
Right.
after. But yeah, like in a vacuum, that logic of the logic behind that round is kind of cringe to me, you know.
Right on. Well, my question, man, was growing up, did you embrace being a nerd, or was that something that you were kind of like pushing away from for a long time?
You know, I don't know that I ever like considered myself a nerd or even kind of had that dynamic around me. You know,
Okay.
I like the circles I ran in, like, you know, I was like, even then, and this is another thing, getting back to your last question about, you know, clarifying my ethnicity, is that when I was real young and, you know, before I started rapping and around that time, everyone I was around, it was like I was being embraced by and embraced being the like token white guy. You know what I mean? And like like the first rap group I was in, was like me and Deshante, we were called Young Thugs, and it's just gangster rappers, and that was just the vibe. But I've always had that because before that I was in the chess club, you know, like fourth and fifth grade. Or like there was a small point in time when I played Magic the Gathering. But the thing is, when I went and played Magic the Gathering, it was with a Discman listening to Pac and like South Pole and Results jeans, and I didn't fit in with none of them. Like I was, you know, so it kind of, you know, wasn't until maybe battle rap kind of where I that dynamic or general title, I think, gets thrown around more. But I have always taken pride in those interests, like playing chess and relating this strategy and battle rap and all those things to chess. Like, you know, got all these graphic novels and comics and you know, The Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, that's like, I never hide my interest though. So long story longer than it needs to be. I don't know. I've always kind of had a duality about it, I think, in my own mind, to where I never really fully had and kind of been split between worlds in that way.
Okay.
That's fair. So that kind of ties in perfectly with what I wanted to ask you. Just looking at how, as time has gone on, like battle rap has gotten bigger. People are coming from different regions. You see what I'm saying? Everybody comes from different walks of life. Like you said, Magic the Gathering. I know during the pandemic, a couple of college friends of mine started playing Dungeons and Dragons because we're all, you know what I'm saying, quarantine, like lockdown. You couldn't go anywhere. Might as well like get together, play this game or whatever. With that being said, do you feel as though there's like an unspoken ceiling when it comes to references you can make in battle rap? Because I see, like, although it's kind of getting bigger and it's kind of leaning more towards the entertainment side, it's still people who kind of feel like, why the hell are these guys coming in here like referencing like anime and shit like that? And it's like, y'all have been referencing Friday After Next and Baby Boy and fucking, you see what I'm saying?
And
30 years at this point. Like, do you think that there's a ceiling there, or do you think this is just like growing pains as we get larger as a culture?
I actually think that I think there's a little bit of that, but the other side of it is I think it's more open than ever.
Okay.
You know, an example, Nitty has some of the wildest references that it's like you have to look up, and that he does knowing you might have to look up. You know, he had the One Punch Man anime reference on, you know, versus Appa, I think it was. But I think it really is more about how you do it and how you present the context. And when in doubt, tie it to a gun bar and it's not nerdy anymore. You know what I mean? Like the juxtaposition works. But I think that more than ever, the ceiling is open, and there's almost an underlying feeling of people wanting more variety in battlers' reference pools, you know? So I actually acknowledge that there has been a ceiling classically, but think that battle rap is in a place where it's more open than ever.
Okay.
for a variety in that way.
That's fair. I do agree. I do agree that that juxtaposition definitely does work. I forgot what battle rapper it was recently. It was like watching like a stand-up comedian at work. They were kind of getting into like a one-piece scheme, and they looked around and said something like, "Yeah, this something about Luffy, and yeah, this chopper gonna da 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 da," and it worked. It brought the crowd right back, like, "Oh, a gun, yeah, that's what we're."
Yeah, I mean, Twerk has some random, you know, I mean, I feel like he's referenced Teletubbies and like even now, like there's room for nostalgia, like, and
Yeah.
we, you know, Arthur, like there's all these different things that we can that pull from that strikes a chord that
Yeah.
actually works really well depending on how you do it.
Agree.
Well, since you brought him up, let's get to it. You're on blackout in 9 days, I think, 8 days, something like that. And you have what a lot of like the hardcore community considered the GOAT or the punchline god, etc., etc. The alien. What do you think about that matchup? I guess after the break you took, and how are you approaching this one?
Yeah, people might have to refer to him as the GO. You know what I mean? I think people forget what that AT stands for in that term. But I think that Rum, and I've thought it for a minute, is, you know, he's at the height of his game right now, you know, and people have been requesting that matchup for a minute. And I'm looking at it like it's just another puzzle to solve, you know, like every battle, I kind of go into it like this is just another brain puzzle. This is just another thing because there's always an unlock. There's always, for anyone, you know, for me, for every battler, there's an unlock and an Achilles heel and approach from any given person. You know, any given person in this art form can lose to any given person if that perfect chord is struck. So that's just how I'm looking at this going into this matchup with Rum.
Did you always see this in him? Because when he was on King of the Dot, I mean, he was pretty much the same guy. Like, and I always thought he was fire, but he was always like on the undercard, kind of battling like mid card, something like that. Like, and came over to URL and just became a star. Did you always see that in him, I guess, or did that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me. There's an ebb and flow to this that everybody, you know, that sometimes it's just the landscape, you know, the matchup. There's a million different variables that can propel or repel somebody's sort of ascent. And I think that not only just going to URL and sort of honing his skills in that landscape, I do think that even now from where he was at, there's a lot when he, you know, came out on King of the Dot, there's been a lot of evolution, you know, performance wise, structure wise, overall confidence and everything. I think there's been I think it would almost be an understatement speaking to his growth to not acknowledge he's really took all those. He's always had all this raw skill and this clay, and he's kind of molded it into what it is now. And it's his time and place right now too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He's upgraded like his whatever he was good at, he just became amazing.
Now, one thing Rum is great at is name flips, right? Name flips are obviously a big thing in battle rap. Illmac, you probably got one of the easiest names to flip around and twist and rearrange, right? I want to know, what are the best and worst name flips you've heard about yourself up to this point? Because I kind of feel like Conceited used them all. You know what I'm saying? But I want to hear it from you.
Conceited and Magic.
Uh-huh.
I think any name flip And this don't just go for me, it goes for Ill Will, it goes for any ill. I think any name flip that's based on referring to a illness or a sickness as an ill is absolutely terrible. It's the equivalent of calling round objects rounds when no one would. So get cut is round like a pizza. Like nobody calls a pizza a round, bro. Like and that like call. So I hope that there isn't something, didn't know it was ill, like Chadwick Boseman, or like I really hope that there's no like referring to a sickness or an illness as an ill, because that shit's horrible to me.
Right.
But I would expect better anyway. I can't remember specific name flips. I mean, obviously the quintessential one that comes to mind is Mac running through windows versus Conceited at Grizzlemania. Like that haunts my dreams, you know. I said this in another interview, but it's funny because the Conceited battle, that was, to my memory or knowledge, really the first name flip round. Like there had been name flips before, but that was an entire round of name flips. I didn't see it coming because I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, wait, what is this? Every bar is flipping my name. I didn't realize you could do that. And that, sort of paved the way for Rum. You know what I mean? Like I sacrificed myself so Rum could have his name flip style.
Right. Yeah. Another question I got, man, I always want to know, man, your battle versus Bender and a couple of other battles around that time, man, you had a lot of references to Hattori Hanzo, man, the sword maker off of Kill Bill, and played by the late Sonny Chiba, man. Rest in peace to that brother, man. What was your fascination with that movie and that character specifically, to where he came up in about 3 of your battles?
Well, first off, I didn't even think that bar was going to hit like it did. But it was really, the whole point of it was less about that punchline and about kind of saying don't do that sorry player shit. And so I was like, what's the sorry player, like, corny combo, and it kind of unfolded from there. 40 bottle Hattori Hanzo, and I kind of put that together. But when it shut the room down, and then people started running with it. Is he bringing the Hanzo blade with him?
Right.
Like, so then I kind of leaned into that, and it kind of became my Alien or Von Doom or what have you. So, but that movie's a classic. Hattori Hanzo is also like a historical figure, like in like feudal Japan as well, when the Edos and everything were like beefing with I forget the family, but the homie's writing a graphic novel about it. That's why I'm like in touch with it. The homie only one, but that movie's also just an amazing movie. I think I had just seen it, watched it back, whatever, and was like, oh yeah, this will be a good reference. And that's just kind of where it came from, and everybody else breathed life into it, so I ran with it.
Dope.
That's fair. As far as that goes with me, like I watched those movies. I know Ty watched those movies too. Like a lot of those, not just Kill Bill, but those like early, like Chinese, Japanese fighting movies early on. And we often kind of talk about how we compare and try and quantify battle rap when we compare it to other mediums. I do feel like in battle rap, it's like that weird martial arts movie to where there are certain guys who are just like the old masters at the top of the hill, just waiting for certain people to come up so they can
Pai Mei or something.
Yeah, just show them a thing or two. Do you feel like in the pantheon of battle rap, like you're one of those guys? Like, I've been doing this shit for so long, I could really fuck any one of y'all up if y'all catch me on a good day. Do you feel like that, or do you still kind of feel like that Ronin who's just kind of traveling around, no master, I'm figuring it out, and I'll get to you when I get to you? Like, where do you kind of put yourself in that?
But last night, and this is a ritual before every battle damn near, I watched Ip Man. Ip Man. And if you haven't seen that, Watch it. It's one of the best in that whole field. Donnie Yen, absolute
Mhm.
legend.
Fire.
That's like how like low key it's inspiring to me. Before every battle I watch it and it like puts me in the zone, and I picture all those fights and certain things about his attitude, how he carries himself and doesn't need to be in the mix and all that. I kind of like relate in a way and get inspired by that. And that movie is like top 3 movies period for me, and it has a special place in just getting me hyped up before every battle. So if there is somebody in that whole realm that I would picture myself or model myself after in a lyrical fashion, it'd definitely be Ip Man.
Okay, so with that, perfect. With that being said, you said that's one of your favorites. If you had to pull your top 3, Illmac, if you had to pull your top 3 martial arts movies of some kind, I want to do 3 because I know 5 kind of gives people wiggle room to put a debatable in there or something like that. But if you just had to do 3, what would they be?
I feel like I might get some flack for it, for at least my third choice, the first thing that came to mind. But I would say Ip Man, 100%. Number 1, I would probably say Hero with Jet Li is number 2. Side note, that movie is there's a scene in that movie that inspired my third round versus Big K. The imagine what's going to happen at the actual event is low-key based off a scene in Hero. That was like, I want to do this, but in the battle. And number 3, I got to, okay? I don't know if this counts, but I gotta put Bloodsport in there. You know what I mean? I know that that's America, but it's like that. They was in Hong Kong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Shout out Chong Li.
Bolo.
Yeah, even if it's based on fiction or whatever, that recently I seen some article about Frank Dukes being a fraud. That shit's just amazing. And Jean-Claude, man, he had me in a chokehold in the 90s. That was my goat.
Dope.
But yeah, I would say those top 3.
All right, no shit.
So, Ilmac, I'll ask you, what is it like to battle Carter Deans?
Man, I'll never be a cat person. You know, he ruined the species for me. It was fun. It was hilarious. I mean, our battle was like less than a week notice or something. It was like maybe 1 week. I think they're talking about it 8 or 9 days out, but it wasn't locked in until like 6 days out. And it was I think something fell through, and that's why they reached out to me last minute. I think his opponent had fell through, and it's actually the quickest I've ever written a battle. I think I wrote damn near all 3 rounds in one sitting, which I've never done, just top to bottom. And normally I'm pretty meticulous about editing, but I was just like, keep it. I like it. That's funny. I don't care if anyone else does. It'll be fun, you know? And it was fun up until that hand slapped and my entire world crumbled, you know what I mean?
He broke the room with that one. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, one of the best room shakers, of the decade.
So I have another question. So you were part of a one-of-one event, very unique one, the FilmOn.com one. Yep, Ether. You smoked Real Deal in that one.
Clean, smoke boots. Sorry, Real Deal, you're my boy, but you got smoke.
Shout out to Real Deal. He was just here last time. So I guess what was that event like? Because nowadays we look back on it as like a giant catastrophe, but you actually had a great battle, great performance on that card.
Thank you. It was an interesting battle. It's an interesting crowd. It was everything about it was interesting. You know what I mean? The behind the scenes and lead up and afterwards. It sucks because, especially at that time where Real Deal, I think a lot of people thought Real Deal. I would see polls and whatever else that a lot of people thought he could come in and smack me around. You know, he was real dangerous at that time. Like Real Deal. I mean, he still is. He always is. But at that time, especially, you know, I can't remember where that falls with the Magic battle. It might have been before that, whatever. But there was just a lot of at the time, you know, clean sweeps. He was going in and putting paws on people. And I think a good amount of people, or at least this is what I told myself for motivation, thought he was going to come in and smack me around. So I really wanted to make that battle a statement. And so in that way, because of the way the event went, Cassidy and Diz and all the weird stuff and the footage getting dropped on their channel, then taken down, then putting back up, then put back up. And, you know, Avo putting out his version because it looked better. I think between all that, it gets sort of glossed over or whatever, but that's up. I wouldn't say like in my best performances, but it's some of my favorite.
Yeah, it is definitely. Did you guys get paid from that event? Because it was supposed to be a pay-per-view, and I think some people bought it, but I just went on the website and just let me watch it for free.
Yes.
Okay.
I got paid eventually.
Eventually, okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring up some questions from people watching. So, Illmac, who do you think is the current battle of? What is the current battle of the year so far?
Battle of the year. I guess that's got to be great from both sides.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Damn, man, I always like answer these types of questions, and then 20 minutes later, like, oh, I should have said that. Help me out. Some of the like best battles.
For me, it'd probably be Verb and A-Ward.
Your Verb and A-Ward. No, not that one. Okay, what else?
We had, I think wasn't
that event was crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was nuts. You had
on Goods, Easy and Geechee recently.
Yeah, Easy and Geechee.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's tough, man. My personal.
I think Mook and Big K was this year, correct? At the
Mook
top
and
of the
K
year?
Was this year.
Yeah.
Wasn't K and A-Ward? Yeah, K and A-Ward was this year.
Yeah.
Rex and K was really a really
that was
good
really
battle.
good. Shout out to Rex. 2-1, Rex.
Hell no. You can't give somebody a 2-1 because they showed up because of nostalgia, man. That was
Thank you.
You got cleared, but he did great. You know what I mean? He lost every round, but did great. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing was said than that whole influence by him, like pattern. But
Illmac, can't you say that because you're kind of slightly biased? You and K are boys.
I'm definitely slightly biased to better rapping and and just hitting on all cylinders.
Rex was going crazy.
There might be some of that, but I just think he does. This is why this battle kind of is what I'm thinking almost as going into that battle of the year, just because I'm a fan of both of them. You know, Rex versus was it Young Ill on like Battle America or something, like a one-rounder is like one of my favorite performances.
I think I watched that like 100 times.
Yeah, like, and so to see them both firing on all cylinders and they both do like actually rap, and that's what I really like. That's the first thing that is popping in my head. But you know, Ward and K's up there. It's just hard for me not to just kind of default or think about K battles because I think he's on his champion of the year run and there's been so much great shit. But though the Rex and K I just watched, so I got like a certain recency bias. Okay. So like this shit is so fire.
It is really.
But good. I also haven't seen Nitty and Ace. Is that probably up there or
no? Nitty beat the dog shit out that young man. Shout out to Ace wherever you are. Beat the dog shit out.
Really?
Oh yeah. Get ready.
You didn't get around.
No,
I thought okay.
no.
Damn.
I heard from sources there was one round probably, but
Some people try to give Ace that third where he was
the
defending
third was it the
URL.
third?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
I don't got the app either, so it's like it's tough for me to like look at all the battles, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I don't know, just as a fan of short rounds and both the battlers and having a great performance, like I'll default to K versus Rex.
Okay.
Nitty and Jazz were good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
And another question: what would you rank Rum as your like between with your toughest opponents to write for?
It's a tough question. Honestly, I don't think he's one of my toughest opponents to write for. I think he's one of my toughest opponents.
Yeah.
But there's just been some people where it gets set up and I just am not inspired to write for whatever reason. Like maybe I thought the matchup would be great, but when it comes to preparation, there's nothing that really sticks out as something that I want to touch on or the way that our styles match up, you know, but this isn't one of those, you know, because of like sort of the pen narrative and you know, having the battlers that I respect, I tend to be able to be fun to write for. And I have respect for Nitty. So I wouldn't put him anywhere probably on the list of toughest to write for, but definitely toughest opponents.
Okay. Illmac, I got a heavy question. I got a light question for you, man. In a lot of your early battles, you had a lot of bars that were kind of like sacrilegious or borderline blasphemous. In your song "Timeless," you asked the listener to pray for a lost soul, right? In this recent "Back Outside" freestyle, you say "Praise God" for, you know, pretty much for you being alive or existing. So my question,
me again,
right? And you said "Praise God." So my question is, does Illmac believe in God?
Yeah, it's funny. Like even A Ward has said, like you reference God, you know, when we battle, like you reference God more than me. Like it tends to be something that I call on for imagery, and I like it's really interesting imagery and really interesting principles and stories, and I'm not religious,
Okay.
you know, but I mean, yeah, I believe in something. I believe that we have no idea what's going on. And I believe that we have a very limited perception of reality. We have 5 senses. For all we know, that's 5 ways to interact with the world and perceive it around us. For all we know, there could be infinite senses. Migrating butterflies and bees and birds have an extra perception where they can see and sense the electromagnetic fields around that surround the earth, and that's how they'll use them as navigation for migrating patterns. Like there's probably entire universes in front of us that we don't even have the equipment to perceive. So I think that my, you know, perception of God isn't some guy up in the clouds that, you know, is determining what happens at all times. But I do think that we have zero idea what's going on around us, and there is a way deeper reality that we're experiencing, like a video game, in the way that when we pass, we remember, or we're back. Oh yeah, it's like waking up, like, oh yeah, this is reality. That dream was crazy. So there is something bigger. You could call it God. You can call it the universe. You can call it whatever. I do believe in something higher. And I do talk about praying because I consider conversations with, whether it be my super consciousness or my avatar outside this bubble I'm in, or this reality I'm choosing. I do have those communications and things, and look at all that shit as just energy. So yeah.
Yeah, could be praying to the butterflies, man. You know, they got those extra senses. You know what I'm saying? They might do something for you, man. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A lot of questions, man.
Effect.
Right. A few years ago, man, I seen you on R.A. the Rugged Man podcast, right? You was there with two underground legends, Killer Priest, my man Juice. Shout out Juice. We had him on the show a few months back. Man, he freestyled for us for like 10 minutes.
He's the best.
He's super ill, super nice guy too. I got a good question for you, man. You being like a underground, just a hip hop connoisseur in general, but specifically like the underground kind of backpacker type of rap, right? That you kind of, your music kind of falls into that category, right? A lot. Bro, tell me, with all your travels, traveling to battle, traveling to do music shows, who are some like underground legends or OGs that you've seen in action behind the scenes? You was like, yo, they're really skilled, like how I thought they was when I was listening to him on the CD or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like to hear Juice freestyle live, like, oh, he's really like that. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever ran across,
That was crazy.
living legend, anybody from like the hieroglyphics, living legends, you know what I'm saying? Wu-Tang Clan, anybody like that, like backstage cypher, like you was like, oh, they really like that.
Yeah, first of all, I would say obviously Juice from that radio show and everything. But the thing is, we have a mutual friend, and I've kicked it with Juice a couple times out here, and got into a cipher. But even at that the RA podcast, once he started freestyling and it came to me, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like I'm gonna spit a written after his freestyle because I'm not freestyling after that.
Right.
That was insane.
Yeah.
But like I've seen that in action at the crib, and it's I've been around the best freestylers in the world, coming up in the battle scene, from old school like Project Blowed, and even newer school No Can Do and Awkwards and Thesaurus and Idea and all these cats across the board. Jin, Juices, put a beat on, throw words, or just freestyle. Like his word and vocab and his word bank, vocabulary is words Word bank is words you use actively. And his word bank when he's rapping or freestyling specifically is like, it's unparalleled. Everything is unique. The crutch is hardly there. So another example is I'll go to two other examples. A Deep Cut. When I was 15, I did a show with, his name at the time was One Man Army. He goes by One Below. Then he changed to One Below, Binary Star. And
Chicago, right?
Yep. And his performance was amazing. This is like this is before Scribble Jam. This is all that. And he just was such a great performer. And one thing, he just gave me a lot of gems behind the scene of like just matching the energy of the crowd. Okay. Like he's like, if you're just coming out, people don't know you, whatever, and they're chilling in the energy, you need to match that and kind of guide them to where you want them to be, but you got to match it first. So like coming out and just like, yeah, hey, it's like, whoa, like chill. And to see how in his performance he really enacted that and then gave me that game after, it was like that opened my mind. And then the other one is Idea, rest in peace. And one of my biggest influences, if not my biggest influence, when I first started battling, and I was like I won Scribble, and we talked after. And one thing I told him, like, you're my favorite battle rapper, like you're my favorite. This is insane. And he's like, well, that's crazy to me because you're going to, a lot of people are going to tell you that. And you're telling me that. So this means the world to me. Fast forward, he did shows in the Northwest, and he hit me and I opened up for him. And his live performances is still some of the best hip hop performances I've seen live. And whether it's double time or freestyling or all these things, and never losing a breath or looking like he's struggling and all these things. And there was another thing where I was just like, how do you do that? Like that's insane. I thought it was just battle rap, but your live performance is insane. And he just said, your voice is an instrument. A lot of people, when you record, you do punch-ins, you do this, you do that. How is that going to translate live? When I record like I'm going to perform it live. And that's just some of the gems that he dropped that really always stuck with me, and that I seen him enact in this way that kind of blew my mind.
Isn't that crazy? Like Idea would say all those super mean things in the battle, but like his music was very kind of like emo. It's like
Yeah.
like the dichotomy of it was kind of crazy.
Yeah, duality. It makes sense, you know, like
Mhm.
feeding different parts of the brand. I've been listening to Oliver Hart recently. Like
Fire,
that's one of my favorite albums of all
fire.
time too, and it just has such a special place with me when I was first getting into underground. Because like I said earlier, I was like gangster rapping and mainstream until around 14, 15, and nose dived in. Battle rap was kind of like opened my brain to underground rap, really, But yeah, watching Blaze battles, like footage from
Hmm.
off of LimeWire, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like downloading
Yeah.
files and giving your computer aids to like what. I didn't know Eminem, Jay-Z, and Biggie did a record.
They did
Hey,
it.
the first clickbait, Illmac. Yeah,
Yeah, for
for
real.
sure.
That's fair. So, I mean, with that being said, like, there's a lot, like a wealth of knowledge that certain people like yourself in battle rap kind of pull from. You see what I'm saying? Like, I kind of like you, and it's great that you and Nitty are battling. When you talked about like the amount of words, when you just spoke about Juice, like word bank, I kind of have like Twerk in there as to where like this brother obviously reads a lot or has read a lot, studies a lot. Like obviously the low hanging fruit when it comes to these combos, the Luxes, Mooks, Hollow, so on and so forth. Um, what would you say are like favorite books that you've read or things like that that have taught you some great transferable skills that you apply in battle rap that have like complemented and like increasing your like vocabulary and your word bank and things like that as well?
Well, one quick answer went from all the way back from high school when I first started freestyling is when I started reading the dictionary during we had like 20 minutes a day in high school. Is like SSR or whatever, silent sustained reading
Yeah,
for
yeah.
20 minutes every day. And I would just read the dictionary and write down words. But my point of it wasn't to come up with the biggest words. It was all about increasing my word bank. So it'd be like regular words that I don't use or think about, like auxiliary or whatever the case is, like words like that I'm like, oh, and I'd write them down, and then when I would practice freestyling later, I'd look at the list, and then it forced me to kind of like come up with new rhymes on the spot. And so reading the dictionary, not to like get a bunch of big words, but just to be more cognizant of my word bank, was really formative when I first started freestyling. And I'd also do that with regular books, or magazines, open up to a random page and try to incorporate words or something from the pictures inside.
Mm-hmm.
Also, probably the go-to is actually right here. And I read it at least once.
That's a great book.
I read it at least once before every single battle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the Book of Five Rings, definitely. And it's all about sword play, but it's like that, war strategy. You can relate it to business. You can relate to whatever your thing is. You can relate it to. So that's probably the biggest one. Mm-hmm. There's other ones like the cliches, like The Art of War. There's this book called Choke, and not by Chuck Palahniuk, because that's a book. This book called Choke by, I want to say her name was like CM Blaylock or something like that. Okay. And I read it a long time ago, and I'd love to track it back down again and get it. But it's all about performing. The whole book is like a study on top athletes, CEOs, artists, performers, kind of like the top of 1% of like all these different fields, and how their brain responds in the moment of pressure in their given fields, and what they do differently maybe than someone who isn't as successful or someone who's just trying that, and what they do differently and how their brain reacts to it. And the whole crux of the book is about optimizing your brain to perform to its highest capability in high pressure situations. And that was a real big influence when, I'd read that a couple times in this era, in the written era, but like it's been a few years. I need to track it back down. There's also books like Blink, by Malcolm Gladwell, which is a little similar. It's like quick decision making and maximizing in the moment.
It's a decent book too,
Yeah, it's pretty good. I also been reading lately a lot of books just on writing in general, because I'm working on, taking a crack at writing scripts on a show, a cartoon I've been developing outside of Rap Off, as well as I want to write a graphic novel around the Rap Off universe and characters in that. So, Joseph Campbell is the hero with 1,000 faces. It's all about the hero journey, which is kind of like every major, like every story you can think of any hero. Like there's some like steps along the way that they all have in common.
Hero's journey,
across all literature, mythologies, all these things. There's like a pattern that emerges, and it's all about that. But it's also just about the way you can structure developing a character. But that's also kind of influenced my writing in battles. And the last one I'll say, because it's been lately such a big influence on my writing, both in battles and out, is this book called it's called Invisible Ink. Invisible Ink by Brian McDonald. And it's all about writing as well, but it can relate to anything writing wise, like a battle. And it's, a practical guide to building stories that resonate. But one of the things it talks about, like when you're writing, look at it like a joke. Mm. When you tell a joke or when you write a joke, every line and every piece of that joke that you say is relevant to the end.
Right.
And, the whole thing, it's like if there's a problem in the third act, it's really in the first act.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's another one I would say.
That's
I could go on about a bunch of different books, but those are the first ones that come to mind.
No, and I appreciate it. I really like hearing where people actually like have their reference points at. So especially with that said, like where you talked about how think of it like you're writing a joke, every line means something. I watch you on Ruin Your Day a lot with Avo and a lot of people who kind of go through there. I feel like Geechee is one of the funniest people with comedic timing ever on Ruin Your Day. That man is just naturally funny.
Yeah.
However, when you were sitting down and you were watching the Mook and Big K battle, you got very like, and I do this too because I'm a writer. I'm working on my shit as well. Like very meticulous. It's like this shit, like how Big K would string things together, and it's a great theme that he's building, and it lands. And like Mook would try and do that, and it's like, okay, Mook, how are you gonna do this? I'm gonna do the fucking alphabet. That's how I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be ass, and you're gonna like it. Or I'm gonna do a nursery rhyme scheme, and it's gonna be ass, but you're gonna like it. Like, do you think that like people kind of, not singling out Mook specifically, but do you think people in battle rap kind of skip over that element as to where you're supposed to be building to something as opposed to just ADHD writing where it's like set up punchline, like create a narrative and attack your opponent? Or do you think that shit's not important anymore?
I think that there are very, very few great writers in battle rap. I think that a lot of what pays off, both in the building and because of the influence of the building and just what people want, is people don't really care about the journey. They care about the destination, the punchline. As long as we got there, that's amazing. Yeah. But yeah, this doesn't really work as a double entendre. That kind of was the crux of that whole punchline. Like, yeah, but you get it. Don't be a lyrical accountant. You get it. We got to the destination, to punchline land. What does it matter if our journey made sense to get there? And that is a pet peeve of mine, and why I say, like, I think even, a lot of, I just think there's very few great writers in this shit. And sometimes I'm just like, maybe I'm just the old man on the porch, shaking his pen instead of his cane. And maybe it's me. Maybe it's a me thing, because sometimes this world's topsy-turvy and what gets considered great writing is the epitome of bad writing to me. And you know, I always go back, and I don't know if you guys will remember this, but there was a Don't Flop battle where the theme was bad bars, and it was called the Bad Bars battle between Marlo and Shuffle T. And I think there's been a lot of examples, and it continues to be in battles where it's like, it seems like that is the standard of what makes good writing, is literally the bad bar standard. So, you know, call me, you know, jaded or meticulous or particular, but yeah, I do, to answer your question, direct, I do think that sometimes the majority of people don't care how you got there, as long as you got to the destination of a punchline and deliver it as such, and it sounds like it made sense.
Now, Illmac, I want to ask you, obviously, as long as I've known about you battling, I knew you make music, and it's obviously a big part of you. And you mentioned how you have pretty big fan bases in LA, Cali. You mentioned London, Toronto, Australia, and you mentioned how you're going out to Australia as well for some shows, I think. I guess. What's your favorite place to perform at so far, or where you have performed so far? And to follow that up, what is the most random place where you have like a little fan base? Like, is there like maybe like in Utah or something, like there's Illmac, like, or like maybe in Bosnia there's some like Illmac group listening to you? Is there any place like that?
Yeah, so I'm going to Australia to battle this full Vega, but I also have a handful of shows I'm doing. I haven't performed in Australia, so I'm looking forward to that. And you know, there might be a city in Australia, whether it be Adelaide, Melbourne. I got a show in Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. And hopefully one of those places could be added to this list in this answer for you. I will say one of the craziest receptions and favorite places to perform, you know, actively touring was like Colorado, Denver, Colorado Springs, Durango, Fort Collins, you know, the college crowd and the underground fan base, and also just the Sand People fans and Illmac fans, like, has been insane. Like, there was a group of fans who flew out from Colorado to Portland for multiple release parties, all this. And so that the base is strong there, and always a great time. Portland as well, but Colorado in general, all those cities, an amazing time. The surprise and random cities performing out on tour, toured Europe with the crew, with my crew Sand People, I don't know, a decade ago plus. And we did a show in Germany in a small town called Itzehoe. Itzehoe, Germany. As in, it's like Itzhoe, I think. Itzehoe. And that shit is the best show I've ever done. Like, it was packed. The entire place was literally jumping and shaking. It was like, I don't know, it's probably like 300 people packed into a small venue, 250, but it's a small venue, and the whole floors were shaking. They're like, in the middle of a song, like, started chanting, "Sand People, Sand People," like, while we're still performing. It got so crazy, the power overloaded and all the lights. Oh, that's what happened. The power went off in the middle of a song. And so all the lights went off and the music stopped, and they thought it was like part of it. And they just chanted for like 3 minutes straight until the power came back on. And it was like this magical moment. That's like the most insane show I've ever done. It was so fun. But I can't wait. I would love to get back out to Europe and do a run. But that Itzehoe, Germany is the most random place. That was the most popping and an insane show.
That's crazy.
Illmac, man, I've defended this guy for many, many years that I'm about to bring up, man. I know this is a buddy of yours, somebody that you battled back on Grind Time. Your boy Bashir, man. Diz, right? Listen, man. Been a big fan for a long time, man. Did some real cringy stuff recently, versus Real Sick. Um, Two-part question, man. Number one, what did you think of that? Speaking of sand people, what did you think of that reference? Right? And then the second part is why doesn't disaster translate to URL, man? I've had to debate with these guys multiple times, and the argument that I always get is he can't be a GOAT because he has not done well on URL. You know, they're considered the NBA of battle rap and whatnot. And I'm always like, nah, go back to Diz versus Pat Stay, go watch his rounds versus Cannabis, you know what I'm saying? And every time I see him on URL, he just, he kind of flops. You know what I mean? He'll have some good stuff, but it's just overall like not well received, man. What did you think about that whole incident, man?
So I didn't see it.
Okay.
Again, like I said, I don't have the app, but of course I seen clips and whatnot. And I mean, what can I say? You know, there's not. I don't think there's a defense or a way to co-sign it. And honestly, like I seen a thread by Quest McCody that I thought was really well put and thought about the whole thing, and I would honestly defer to that. I can send it to you, whatever. I thought it was really thoughtful.
Okay.
Now
that was a great post. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Now, as far as translating the URL, you know, I think that it's just a matter of choices. It's just because even in that round, he had went from getting booed in the first to then shutting the room down with the muscle suit and all that. Like, you know, like seeing clips of that. And so that even in itself, to then get booed again, like to see that, like one comment I seen was like, we just seen like, you know, like a disaster arc all in one battle. You know, you go from hating him to loving him to him being charismatic to then like going to letting you lost me again. And
he's an innovator, man. He's an innovator, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think he's a polarizing figure. But here's one thing I'll say is that I've always said this and I stand by it, that whether you call it GOAT or not, there's nobody in this whole shit that can do a lot of what Diz has done, from battling in multiple languages, 3-4 different languages, doing an entire battle against the biggest dude in you know, Mexico, battling out in the Middle East. I don't remember if it was in Lebanon or not, battling, you know, the biggest oxymoron and doing what he done. And nobody else could do that. Nobody can take that away from him. And I also think that I've said this before and stand by it, that I think that Diz is, you know, like it or not, the face of battle rap and has been for a long time. And when I say that is because if you go around the world, the entire world outside of this with a list of names, he's going to be the one overall around the world. There might be pockets where this person is in America, where this person is in the Philippines, where this person is. But if you look at recognizability globally, at the biggest level, he's going to be the most recognizable worldwide. He is the face. And most people can't do all the creative shit he's done. So nobody can take that away from him.
Right on. My follow-up to that is, when are we going to see Illmac on URL, man? I remember years ago on Ruin Your Day, I think he was talking with Avocado. I think he was actually calling out Nitty or interested in battling Nitty. I think O-Red at one point, before he lost his teeth, you was trying to battle O-Red. He was on a little run. When are we going to see you on URL, man?
It's a good question. I mean, I've had conversations recently about it. I've had conversations, you know, trying to set something up, but it was like a week or two after Nitty, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna, whatever it is. I've had several conversations and several sort of offers. It's not like that, you know, there hasn't been that over the years. I would say, you know, there's been 7, 8 plus conversations of like, what about next month, this thing? And it just doesn't either line up with my schedule or make sense, or not an opponent or the right, whatever the situation is, money, name, time, whatever of those variables, they just haven't culminated into making sense yet. But the conversations are always open, and I would love to get out there and touch that stage, because when you look at, resume, and the homies are always like, you need to talk about your resume more. You need to do this, this, and that. And I'm just kind of like, whatever. But the truth is, like, overall legacy across multiple eras, longevity, hardware, championships, being a factor in all these different times and places, and impact in every era. Like, there's like, bro, I'm like, I got GOAT on my tatted right here for a reason. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's to remind me, it's with my writing hand. I said that in Back Outside, like, sometimes I, like Michelangelo, like I craft my own ceiling, but maybe that's why I got GOAT tatted on my writing hand for a reason, to remind me, like, own that, and part of that is I need to touch that stage. So it'll happen. It'll happen at some point once the factors line up,
So
That's fair. So I've been wanting to ask you in particular this for a while, Illmac. I'm not gonna lie to you. From both facets. So like, I know in particular myself the answer to this question, but I want to get someone of your esteem to answer this. When we watch battles and everything, there's a difference between battles that are like mutual respect versus mutual like despise, period. Like both battle rappers being like, hey, like, Illmac, you've been killing this shit over here, like on the West Coast for about almost 25 years. Like, hey, bro, I respect you. I want to come and battle. Yeah, I want to battle you too, Cal. Like, you're pretty good, da 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 da. As opposed to what we saw Verb do for the past couple of months leading up to the A-Ward battle, to where he just had his foot on his neck, fucking hate you, like white people are shit, like you're racist, you're from a racist place, your parents are like, and it just brought the heat up. So like, from a battle side, what do you like watching battle, like the mutual respect versus mutual like hate, and what do you like being in more, a mutual respect battle or a mutual hate battle?
Watching, I think it just depends on the quality. I think there's been a lot of it just depends on how they deliver it. When there's a genuine dislike for each other and it pushes them and they both go crazy, like, I don't know why this popped in my head, like what Danny K Shine, there was a lot of tension, but it made for, or Verb Ward, like it made the tension, thicker than German guard dogs, and it was like, yo, German guard dogs, he kind of thick though. But it like worked. But a lot of times it doesn't too. A lot of times it's uncomfortable, it gets messy, it gets sloppy. So it really just depends on the building, the environment, and how that either makes them better or makes them kind of both worse and sloppier. Because it can go both ways. With mutual respect is a little bit of the same. There can be times when it's like there's almost too much love here and it doesn't feel like there's anything on the line, or they're not being pushed, or I've seen better from them. And there's times where you love it when one's slapping the other's chest and like you feel in on it and it's inclusive. So I think both, it can go both ways. And as a fan watching, and it just depends on if it pushes those battlers in that moment to be their best. Gotcha. As far as what I would like to be in, 1,000,000% like to prefer being a fan of someone I like. It's fun to write, and that tension, despite how exciting it can be, like it fucking sucks when you're in it, like in the moment. It's stressful leading up to it. It's stressful in the ring. It's like that moment before, that moment before an actual fight when you were really young, like, and just that like adrenaline and angst, but carrying that for a month, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fun. Now it can push you and it can push you to have some of your best performances. And I've had that, like, even, you know, with Ward, there was enough of a little bit of a conflict back and forth. It wasn't even that serious, but it was enough of a conflict to like push both of us. Like, I'm not losing to you. That's one thing I know is I can't fucking lose to you now, you know? Yeah. And so that worked. But it still was like stressful in the moment. And battles like Bender, Big K, even Thesaurus, or the times that I was a fan of the person and really respecting what they were doing while they were punching me in the face, infinitely more fun to experience.
That's fair. So I'm gonna follow up with this before I think we could do unpopular opinions after this. You guys want to do one more?
I got a few comment questions, and then
cool. So with you, Illmac, like you just kind of led, like you've been kind of running point on this interview your damn self this whole time. So you said you in the A-Ward situation. Like I feel like that's one of my favorite battle rap angles in history, where you said top 10 battle rapper, comma, Christian. That hard. You see what I'm saying? Hard. We had A-Ward up here as well. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm a believer as well. I'm not the nice type of believer though, Illmac. If I was out here, I'd be windmilling on y'all motherfuckers. I can't lie. I would. It wouldn't take me 7 years to say Glock 40 on your bitch ass. That would have been a proving ground bar. But what would be what are your favorite angles in battle rap? Like when you go back and listen, it could be years passing, like, damn, that still hits. Like just the writing in this, like this angle hit. I know the thing that comes to mind. I'm gonna put yours up there with the top 10 battle rapper, comma, Christian, because that gets overlooked. But the your father wasn't no gangster, he was just another lost nigga. The self-checkout scheme with T-Top to Rum Nitty, ironically enough. The A Big Gerald with Verb versus Hitman. Another irony Geechee to Easy. A Papoose. Right. Like Like, so what are your like favorite angles in battle rap history that you've heard?
So all I can think about is my number one, but I'm trying to think of one or two before that to actually, build it up. I think angles. I mean, it's hard not to look at what K did to Adi Boom as being one of the biggest, if not the biggest, body in battle rap history, and how he utilized that angle is absolutely masterful. Pat Stay versus Danny Myers about the kids. And that wasn't a situation where it's like this super serious angle, but just his imagery of like holding the kids and like pushing the stroller and how he performed that and did everything in that battle was absolutely masterful. Let me think of at least one more before I get to the hands down best. Obviously, I agree with a lot of yours, by the way. I'm trying to think of other ones because, like, obviously, Verb, Hitman is like top of is up there with the Adi Boom, is up there with the best, and the number one I'm about to say. I'll just get to it because it's all I can think of on repeat. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, the best round one to me ever. And something that I watched again recently and was like, yeah, it's even better than I remember it. Every piece of it is good. It is absolutely amazing. Stands the test of time. It's Hollow. What Hollow did to Clips in first round of their battle.
Just the
most masterful defense offense round. And just how everything lined up in the performance, how he set it up by leading people with the Tony Parker. And there was one other example he gave, the predictability. Well, before he got to that, there was one other, like Tony Parker. Okay, and then he does one more, but then he kind of leaves that and then goes to two other bars, which I've heard through the grapevine, I think was an accident. Like he forgot to go to but then he comes back to the kick cow, which it leaves you in suspense because he does the predictable thing where the audience is included and leaves it just long enough to end the suspense, to give it suspense for 4 bars and make you forget about the crowd participation part, to where when he came back to it and they said Kit Kat and they thought it was just part of the predicting, and then see how easy it is to predict that? It's just like chef's kiss. This is the top of the top, best writing and execution of, you know, attacking someone in the first round. It's my favorite example of an angle and my favorite first round of all time.
Dope.
Now I'm just gonna do some comment questions. Illmac, what is your most underappreciated performance, you think?
Real Deal is probably up there for the circumstances that we talked about,
Yeah.
But even, you know, some overseas, like my battle versus Soul is probably one of my favorite performances of my own, probably in recent memory. My battle versus Soul, and it's I feel like it's criminally underviewed. Like, I know it's the first like 100K battle, or first battle 50K on the Premiere platform, and maybe 100, but then Shoddy Horror had to come out and battle, you know what I mean, and upsell it or upstage it. But I would say that's probably one of my, if not my most underappreciated performances. But I mean, it's a bunch of overseas ones, because I don't feel necessarily like I'm underappreciated in general, but there's just certain things with like overseas or small leagues where it just kind of goes under their radar.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I think of. Like, you know, my battle, with Manas, where he was blind and I blindfolded myself and for 2 rounds or whatever, and kind of had a whole build up to why I did it. Yeah, those are like probably the first 2 that come to mind. Even my battle with Archaic over there. And it's just because I think it's underviewed because it's a, you know, smaller league or overseas or whatever.
Right.
Cool. Do you have a URL hit list?
Nah, I don't have like a league specific hit list. There's people I want to battle before.
But it doesn't matter where it is.
Before I hang it up, there's people that I'd like to battle at some point, or that I just feel like makes sense for style wise and just legacy, you know, not even only for my own, but for them. And people I'd like to, before I hang it up at some point, is, you know, obviously Rum Nitty, Danny Myers, Real Sick, Daylight. I think Daylight or Lux is like one of the like, okay, this is, you know what I mean? This is it. This is my bow. Thank you. It's been great. You know what I mean? And even specifically with Daylight, like we've talked, and I think he feels pretty similar in that way. So, but yeah, those are like the lists that come, are the people that I would like to battle to push my pen. And when I think about who I want to battle, I think about who's gonna make me better in some way. Who's somebody who has strengths that offset mine, that is going to make me have to add things to my toolbox or sharpen my sword even more. And those are gentlemen that I've, not to say I'll only battle them, but that's got to be mile markers on my trajectory to you know, quote unquote retirement.
And last one, I guess, name one favorite rapper from each region. So I guess East, West, Midwest, and the South.
Okay, you said East. That's tough, man. There's a lot of people in all the regions, man.
Just some like off the top of your head.
Midwest, B Magic. Wait, is Detroit Midwest? No, it's kind of East.
No, Detroit's Midwest.
Midwest, yeah.
But B Magic / Clean. West, Pass / Daylight.
Okay.
South.
Yeah.
Wait, so St. That ain't South. Let's see, South.
Yo, Mac, you can't have all those books and not know St. Louis is Midwest, man. Like, come on,
man.
You slacking, brother.
The whole
Come
mid,
on, man.
I don't even care, but you know what I mean? Like, I traveled this country, and I'm like, yeah, the Midwest, like,
Right.
Let's see.
I'm like, we could sell the Midwest, you know what I mean? Like, we could sell.
Okay.
I'm just like driving through, man. I don't know, man. There's a lot of South Trez, Lou Cipher. Say
Okay.
Trez, Lou Cipher. To pick some sleepers from the South, I think.
Okay.
Lou's dope.
Who am I forgetting South though? I feel like there's a bit like I'm like blanking right now. I feel like there's a big.
Yeah, you got like the T-Tops and Briz technically count.
Briz?
Yeah, he's from he's from
Delaware. He like DM.
He's from Delaware.
Delaware, yeah.
He's from Delaware. My bad.
That's
mistake.
East, right?
Yeah, Delaware's the East. So then
He just lived in.
He lived in Carolina for a little bit. So you got T-Top, who's Carolina. You got
John.
You got I think Virginia counts as the South. I go off of Civil War. So Civil War, if you were fighting for the Confederates, you're the South. I don't give a fuck. Virginia, so you got Big K over there, you got Av over there, you got
Big K, Trez, and Lou Cipher. I think Lou Cipher is the most criminally slept on, and when he's on, I think he could be anybody. His pen is incredible. I'm a fan, so I want to shout out all three of them, and obviously Trez. East. I mean, because you just said, I mean, Briz is like, bring Briz back, man. Okay. Briz is dude. So good. Undeniable. One of the best performers, maybe if not even could make an argument, the best performer in battle rap. Like, bro. Twerk, real sick, Briz. We'll say that.
Okay. All right. All right, let's do the unpopular opinions, man.
I got two more questions real quick. I'll make them real quick, man. Recently, you battled Jin, man. Shout out Jin.
Legend.
I grew up watching Jin. He wasn't very good in that battle.
That is true. He tried though.
He did say something. Not a. What do you say? Something hit from Snoop when I say you grow up listening to Gin and Juice. Now it might not have been delivered the best, but that's an insane bar. Not talking about a hit from Snoop saying you grew up listening to Gin and Juice is insane.
Yeah,
he has some dope stuff. I mean, anybody that's that talented and has been doing it that long, they're gonna have some stuff, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't that good though. Whose idea was that to have you guys introduced like that, like it was a surprise and you guys kind of creep up? Because I really felt like something with that kind of history, in my honest opinion, Illmac, I feel like y'all should have done that outside because y'all both from that era. You know what I'm saying? When he was calling you out, you guys are both from grind time, those small room settings. I didn't think they should bring back Jin in a big crowd. Shout out, I mean, rest in peace, Pat Stay. I know it's for a good cause, man. But whose idea was that to make it like a surprise where you guys both get kind of introduced like that?
Hey, blame Nino Bless, man.
Nino Bless, okay. Okay.
Yeah, look. We would have never got a Jin battle ever. If it wasn't for these, very, tragic circumstances. And he came out just to like support and have that moment.
Right.
He's a star, overseas, and he's got a million things he's doing. And he immediately, like a week later, was like out there filming for a TV show, a huge hit TV show over there. And because of him, Donnie Yen, who plays Ip Man, knows who I am. So I'll forever be indebted for him for that. Because that's what Donnie Yen in a GQ interview talked about battle rap when he was talking about early choreography on early movies he did. And he's like, yeah, we wouldn't have it all written. We'd be up there freestyle, just kind of going back, like battle rap, blah, blah, blah. And so Jin is cool with him and like talked about me, and he knows who I am now. So salute to Jin, forever indebted. And he would have never came back for that. So it's a specific thing, and it was pretty last minute. So it was like, this is to almost even not give this external pressure on it of being announced. Oh, like it was more of like a bonus, and here's like a kind of not freestyle, because we had enough time to at least throw some material together, but it was almost like to give it more of an impromptu vibe and less pressure on some performance that we probably didn't have time to like really do anyways. It was just kind of a victory lap or a side quest in a way, and to honor and be there to support, you know, a good cause in support raising money for Pat Stay's family, you know.
Okay, and that's the perfect transition to my last question, man. Rest in peace, Pat Stay, one of my all-time favorites, man. How does it feel to be one of the only people that has a clear W on Pat? Because I was judged for the chain. I don't feel like he's lost too many times. I think Kayshawn beat him in a very cringy battle. Obviously, Pat Stay was going through some things and he wasn't fully prepared. And I think Sirius Jones also caught him lacking at one of those King of the Dot events, man. But I don't think Pat's lost too much to me. How does it feel to be one of the only guys that could say, "Hey, man, I clearly beat one of the GOATs"?
I take a lot of pride in that battle for the reason that it was like, you know, the way I trained going into it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a situation where it was actually really hard to write for me, but it changed my writing process in a lot of ways, because there was a lot of days where I just couldn't really come up with anything that I really wanted to say to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when I changed my, I added tools to my kit of when I'm preparing for a battle, every day I need to be preparing for it. So even if I'm not writing, my battle with him pushed me to say, nothing's coming. Okay, go running, get back, read Book of Five Rings. Okay, watch a TED Talk on body language. Okay, you got a round written. Now we're studying memory champs and memory world champions and how they memorize things. You know, looking up the significant, like every day I need to be preparing, even if I'm not writing. And that battle is what forced me to do that. And, you know, it was like at the time it's like going to hell to beat the devil, you know, in Toronto. And I think I won because even I won that battle, but his first round, "You Are Not a Man," is like
"You're Not a Man" was crazy.
It's the moment of the battle. You know, that's what you take away from that. You know, it's like Daylight losing to B Magic, but all you remember is the Matrix moment, you know. And I have a tattoo on my leg I got recently, and it's of Pat Stay as a centaur, because I was like, if I'm gonna get a tat of Pat, I want to troll him a little bit, like. And that fool was like obsessed with that, like centaur Viking, like all this shit. So I got him that. I put a little bit of a tribal tat on his chest because I'm like, one thing to describe you, Pat, tribal tat. And next to it, it says,
that was a great line.
"You are not a man." You know what I mean?
Fire.
And but you're not only just proud of beating him. You know, a lot of it came from the defense that I did, because I knew all his strengths and what he had over me. So what I wanted to do was do what he does to people. Yeah. And so when even in the roasting, the tribal tat, I'm like, "Hey, there's no water in that, man. Why you look uncomfortable?" Like, even though all those little banter things that kind of make them even more uncomfortable, that's what he does to people. You know, that's what and so it really taught me a lot. And that's even the bigger headline over how it felt to actually beat him, was that it made me a lot better, I think, in the way that I look at how I prepare for somebody.
Dope. Well, that's the end of our questions, man. Now we're gonna end the show off. We play a little game on here, Illmac, called Unpopular Opinions, right? Where basically you give an opinion that's not popular. So an example would be like Calico beat Lux 30, or Vinny Paz is over Eminem, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Something that just kind of goes against the grain, right? So we're actually going to reverse the order. We're going to start off with you, our guest, which we always do. Then I'm going to go, then Marabi, and then Cal's going to end us off, man. Give us 3 unpopular opinions. They could be battle rap. It could be hip hop. It could be politics, philosophy, whatever you want to do, man. Give us 3 unpopular opinions, man. It's on you.
Game of Thrones is the best 6-season show ever created.
You said
6 seasons.
Yeah, you said 6. You
It's
said
the best
good
6-season
job.
show ever created. Fuck, that's pretty much the main thing I'm passionate about. I just rewatched it recently. But I stopped at my end of the show. And I'm
Season
like, what
4?
happens? What happens when Daenerys crosses? What's another one? I'm choking. I need to freestyle. Another unpopular opinion. Most people, no. Bro, you're killing me now. I have so many that I'm
You're
like,
such. This is what's killing me. Is you're such a cynic. This should be easy for you. You know what I'm saying? Like this should just come so easy for you, bro.
oh no, man, I'm not a cynic, bro.
Yeah.
Second one is unpopular opinion. I'm not a cynic.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Dog, I'm blanking. And I know as soon as you guys start going, I'll be like, oh yeah, I got 2 more. Okay, just think battle rap. How about that? Simplify.
Okay.
Unpopular opinion. That Enes 30 Iron Solomon and Grizzlemania.
Okay.
It's probably a popular opinion now, but I always had that opinion when I was the only person in the world who thought. No, I'll say unpopular opinion bigger than that, and because both of those fools are goats anyway, I'll say unpopular opinion, but shouldn't be, is that Enes is one of the best in entertaining battle rappers. One of my favorites.
You know what's funny is our last guest was Real Deal, and he said something very similar with Enes. So that's kind of funny, man. All right, it's on me. Unpopular opinion number 1, I think President Trump was a necessary evil. A lot of people hate Trump and they hate what he stands for, but I think he was just there to expose the condition of this country. We've seen that a lot of people are still kind of stuck in, ignorance and racism and all that, and it kind of came to surface with him being like the mouthpiece of that. Chino XL is one of the most underrated, underappreciated MCs. I think a lot of modern battle rap, that style, like that shock value punchline, that comes from him, man. Like rest in peace, Big L. He kind of built off what Kane and Lord Finesse was doing with the punchlines. And then I think Chino XL kind of upped it up a level by throwing in like celebrity names. And I feel like a lot of modern battle rappers still do that. You know what I'm saying? When I put a bald head in there, it's not Beasley's Baby, like stuff like that. Like Chino was doing that back in like 95, 96. You know what I'm saying? So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. Last unpopular opinion, man. I don't know why these two brothers, man, make people cringe when we talk battle rap, but Sirius Jones and Sharon have the best win records in battle rap. If you was to go down their resume, they have probably some of the most clear wins out of everybody, man. Those are my 3, man. Those are my 3. Go, Robbie.
I go. A Ward 2-1 versus Frack is possible. BK beat T-Top 2-1. Go back, and I'll just say it. I think Geechee 2-1 is possible versus Mook. Let's go.
All right. I see you took unpopular opinions and started lying, Marabi, but okay. No, but so I have The Wire as one of the most overrated TV situations ever. Badly. And I will die on this hill. Once we start to go back and look at the writing in that show, okay, cool. We'll talk about it. The second one, I don't feel like there is a medium in 2023 that is better than anime at all. Western movies, Western animation, cartoons, anything that comes out widely released, like that derives from the West, it's not beating anime. The writing, the animation that goes into it, It's literally thousands of dollars per minute, which means it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars per season, and they still turn over profits. Finally, this is very random. I think that what's the brother's name? John Washington, Denzel Washington's son, should have utilized nepotism like everybody else in Hollywood does, because we would not look at his movies as being as bad as they are if he sold himself as being Denzel Washington's son from the fucking gate. I think he's had some shit on his resume, respectfully. Love you, good brother, wherever you are. But those are my unpopular opinions.
Tenet was fire. Dollars fire.
All right, and that was it. Thank you for pulling up, Illmac. We really appreciate it.
Wait. Let Illmac plug whatever he got going on, music, channel.
Yeah. Anything you want to tell everybody watching? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, like, so I just dropped a single, Back Outside freestyle.
Fire.
Throw shots at Rum on there, and it's just me saying I'm back outside, and it's on YouTube, the video, but it's also on all streaming platforms. Obviously, go get the pay-per-view Blackout, like not only me versus Rum day 2, Geechee Hallahan day 1, and the hottest battlers on the scene right now, from obviously Rum Nitty, Geechee, Big K, Real Sick, Sharon, Jay the Nightwing, like Thesaurus, like a ton of people. A Ward,
My birth.
I think it's gonna be Mike P. Did I say that? It's gonna be insane, and the mystery element is insane. I want to see more media outlets too, like doing predictions on matches and why they make sense and content idea. But yeah, support, go get it at kotd.tv. And then also, if you want to support, speaking of animation being 5 figures easily per minute, everyone is always asking how come we don't drop more cartoons. And it's because this is an independent operation that deals with those, with those costs of literally tens of thousands of dollars per minute just for animation, let alone for, paying, voice talent and the audio and mixing and all those things. So if you want to support Rap Off doing more, patreon.com/Rap Off Battles. We got a couple heaters on Tuck that I'm going to be announcing, that we already have in the chamber. That's insane. You know what I mean? So you can support there. Otherwise, just on, in support that also just by following Rap Off Battles on all platforms, Instagram or Twitter.
Well, make sure, if you guys are tuning in right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, man. We got Friday night pods every Friday, man. We cover politics, hip hop, battle rap. You know what I'm saying? We got films and things, which is basically like film reviews, everything that's going on in Hollywood. Make sure you guys watch all past episodes of the 4th Round, man. This show that you're watching right now, man, we got Mickey Fax, Swamp, C3, Danny Myers, Real Deal, A Ward, all kinds of dope stuff, passwords. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all go check us out, man. Illmac, you got to get Diz up here, man.
What?
You got to get Diz up here, bro.
I mean, you reach out to him, man.
No, you reach out to him, man. You reach out to him.
We appreciate you, Illmac.
We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Stay up.
All right. We're out.
Y'all both go pee. Let's go.